Could I ask you about some things, Miss Maxwell?
Certainly, darling.
Are you familiar with a woman named Desiree Lathan?
Yes, she came to see me just last week. She told me she was doing research for an article she was writing for Brentwell magazine.
What sort of research?
She asked me a few questions and looked at my books. That was all. She wasn't here for very long.
And what was she researching?
Something about spontaneous human combustion, I believe.
What can you tell me about spontaneous human combustion?
I'm not overly familiar with the subject, but I do have a book about it on the shelf back there. You are welcome to look at it if it will help.
I may, but I'd like to know what your understanding of it is.
Well, I believe it is when the human body inexplicably catches fire and burns. It usually occurs among elderly women who drink to excess, and very little fire damage is caused around the body. That's really all I know, darling. It's not a very agreeable subject for study now, is it?
Did you know that Desiree Lathan is dead?
What? My God, no! I didn't. What happened to her?
She was found burned to death in her bed.
How awful.
Do you have any idea how this may have happened?
There are a number of possibilities, but if she was in the middle of researching spontaneous human combustion, and then to have this happen, it can't be a coincidence.
Are you suggesting she herself was a victim of spontaneous combustion?
One need only compare the circumstances of her death with the facts, darling.
She can't be serious, can she?
Thank you for the information. It was very enlightening.
It was my pleasure, darling.
This all sounds strangely familiar, but spontaneous human combustion can't be real, can it? Then again, sometimes the simplest explanation is the correct one.
I'll be going now.
May the spirits guide you to that which you seek.
Mr. Fordham.
Ah, Mr. Dupre. Good to see you again. Is all well with you?
Absolutely. Everything is wonderful. Because of you, this city has finally seen Laura Dupre for the monster she is. I cannot thank you enough.
I suppose you're welcome?
Now then, is there anything I can help you with?
Yes, I'm looking for Peter Andrews. I was told he worked here.
That's right. His desk is just over there.
Thank you, Mr. Dupre. Lovely seeing you. Mr. Andrews.
Yes?
Miles Fordham, private investigator. May I ask you a few questions?
Yes, I suppose that would be fine. Have a seat.
I'd rather stand, if it's all the same to you. Now then. Do you know Desiree Lathan?
Desiree Lathan? No, I can't say the name rings any bells.
You say you don't know Miss Lathan. Would you care to explain these?
Why are they crumpled up? Did she throw them out? And why do you have them?
I just love catching people like this.
Relax, Mr. Andrews. Let's take this slowly. Now, I can assume by your reaction that these are your letters?
Yes, they are.
So why did you lie about knowing Miss Lathan?
I promised my wife I would cut off contact.
But you clearly didn't. The most recent letter is from 2 weeks ago.
Did she hire you?
Your wife? No, that's not why I'm here.
Ah, well, that's somewhat of a relief then.
Were you aware of Miss Lathan's death?
What? Desiree is dead? No.
She was found burned to death in her bed.
You're lying. You have to be.
I'm afraid I'm not, Mr. Andrews.
Oh, Desiree.
Do you have any idea who might have wanted to kill her?
No, she was a marvelous woman.
Well, I'm sorry to have to be the bearer of bad news, but at least you won't have to worry about writing any more letters.
That isn't funny, Mr. Fordham.
Yes, it was. Don't listen to him.
So your wife knows about your correspondence with Miss Lathan?
Well, I don't know if you could really call it correspondence. Desiree never wrote back. But yes, Peggy, that is to say, Margaret found out shortly after we married.
Exactly how many letters did this bounder send, I wonder?
At first, I tried to make it out that she was just a friend, but she found one of the more intimate ones while I was writing it.
I see. And what was her reaction?
What do you think? I still have the scar from the glass that she threw at me.
You're still married?
Oh, yes. Margaret comes from a very strict Catholic family. They would sooner she die than divorce. It hasn't been easy. She makes sure to take full advantage of the situation. Always buying herself the most expensive jewelry and spending a fortune on food for those wretched cats. I swear, they're better fed than I am.
Where might I find Mrs. Andrews? I'd like to speak to her.
Our house is at 713 Longfellow Street, just at the edge of Gascon. But I warn you, it's a goddamn menagerie she's got. I'd stay away if you're averse to being covered in animal hair.
I'll take my chances. Exactly what is your role here at the bank?
I'm the manager. I handle the new accounts, organize finance, that sort of thing.
Have you been here long?
Coming up on 17 years. Is this at all relevant to your investigation?
Anything could be, Mr. Andrews. Thanks for your time, Mr. Andrews.
Nice house. It definitely screams, eccentric person lives here. Speaking of which, that must be Mrs. Andrews over there with those rodents. Rats with fluffy tails. How anyone can find them endearing is beyond me.
Excuse me, Mrs. Andrews?
May I help you?
I'm Miles Fordham, private investigator. I was hoping you could answer a few questions.
All right then. Don't worry, my darlings. Mommy only needs a moment to speak to the nice man, then I'll give you all the nuts you can eat. My little friends just adore nuts, Mr. Fordham.
Guess that explains why squirrels are so attracted to her.
Did you know Desiree Lathan?
Not personally. I never met her, but I knew exactly who she was.
And who was that?
A miserable drunk. Always going out and getting liquored up at her so-called socialite balls. They try to make them seem so fancy and high class, but it's really just a bunch of bitter old hags getting together to gossip about each other. With that kind of lifestyle, it was only a matter of time before it caught up with her.
Do you happen to know anything about the circumstances surrounding the death of Miss Lathan?
I read in the paper that she was burned to death. In her bed, wasn't it?
That's right. Do you have any idea how that may have happened?
Well, I already told you she was a drunk. Maybe she came home plastered and decided to smoke in bed. I'm rather surprised she was sleeping alone. That woman got around, if you know what I mean.
She certainly seems to know a lot about Desiree for someone who claims to have never met her.
Do you have any hobbies or pastimes, Mrs. Andrews?
Well, of course. I do a bit of knitting and I take care of my pets.
I take it you're fond of animals?
Oh, yes. I just love animals. Most prove to be better company than people.
Is that right?
Well, consider this, Mr. Fordham. Animals can't betray you or lie.
Uh-oh, I don't like where this is going.
My furry little companions would never hurt me, unlike several humans I could name.
Who are these companions exactly?
Why, my darling little kitties and squirrel friends, of course.
Tell me about your cats.
They're the most wonderful little dears. Do you have any pets?
Afraid not. My wife isn't too fond of cleaning up after animals.
Pity. Cats make wonderful pets. They're good company and are independent, unlike dogs. Edgar and Hubert are my pride and joy. I give them only the best of everything, and they in turn give me their unconditional love.
That's delightful.
I used to have a wonderful cat named Tobias, but, he had an unfortunate accident. That's why I never let my two angels out of the house.
What happened to Tobias the cat?
I really rather not talk about that. It wasn't my finest hour. Let's just say it was an honest misunderstanding which got blown way out of proportion.
Well, now I just have to know what happened. I hate it when people tease gossip and don't deliver.
Your squirrel friends are quite tame.
Oh, aren't they just the sweetest? And so smart, too. When I feed them, they come up and put their little paws on my hands as though they were giving me little squirrel hugs. And the way they look into my eyes, I can almost hear them saying, "Thank you for the nuts."
Well, at least you can be grateful that it's only my voice you hear and not some rabid squirrels.
Thank you for the chat. It was very enlightening.
Oh, my pleasure, Mr. Fordham. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to get back to tending to my little darlings.
Mr. Andrews,
Yes?
is there anything you can tell me about your wife's old cat, Tobias?
Oh, God, there's a name I was hoping never to hear again. She loved that cat. I'm sure she would have married it instead of me if she could. Mangy little bastard was always leaving a mess and knocking things over, but he was Peggy's little angel. Then one day I'd had enough, so I let him outside, and
Yes?
the stupid thing managed to get itself killed. Then things got ugly.
How so?
Peggy got a bit carried away, and... well, let's just say I never imagined a cat could earn someone a criminal record.
The plot thickens. Or perhaps sickens.
Thanks for your time, Mr. Andrews.